Andrew Sullivan, principal sales trader at Piper Jaffray Asia Securities. And what's the mood like for your clients when you give them a ring today?
Well, I think everything's about the macro picture rather than any local news. People just aren't really that interested in it, to be honest. But I think it just also depends. I mean, the long funds, to be fair, aren't doing very much. They're sitting there, they're waiting, they're watching. A number of the smaller funds have probably liquidated quite a lot. I spoke to one fund manager, he said, well, the bad news is I'm down, the good news is I'm 50% cash, so only half of it's...
50% cash?
Only half of it's down.
Oh, really? So he's been holding 50% cash throughout the whole year so far?
No, just recently.
So he's been shutting down positions.
Yes.
Have a lot of people been doing that as well?
I think you have seen quite a lot of that. And I think the other side of the coin is those people that are trading. I mean, we've seen the short selling in Hong Kong, you know, at elevated levels for the past few days. So really this week people have been turning far more bearish.
Andrew, a run on the banks in Spain and Greece that we've seen, US fiscal cliff, some are talking about like Goldman Sachs, Chinese growth at 7.5%, the hard landing scenario is rearing its ugly head. All these factors, what does it mean for the next month or so? I mean, it just seems there's no good news out there at all.
Well, I think the overhang for the next month is really still going to be Europe and Greece. And whether we
and the
get
contagion factor, right?
Well, yes, we're already seeing that, and you're already seeing the rebound in gold as well, which is a real indicator that people are starting to get seriously worried again.
Andrew, explain one thing to me. Of course, earlier this month we had the Spanish government step in to bail out Bankia, and overnight we had 16 Spanish banks have their long debt rating cut. And now everyone's saying the Spanish government is going to help some of these Spanish banks. How can the Spanish government step in to save these Spanish banks when they themselves have their credit worthiness is up in the air as well? How does that happen?
Well, I mean, effectively, they're going to be giving guarantees against the banks. Where they actually get the money from is going to be interesting, because remember also, these countries are also committed to putting money into the firewalls for the rest of Europe. So it's rather like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You can do something in the short term to help shore up your banks, but long-term wise, you're still under the fiscal control of the ECB and your budget.
It just doesn't seem like
well,
a viable
it's funny how that works, because, you know, okay, they're going to guarantee these banks, but at the same thing, you look at the credit default swaps at record highs for the Spanish government, so it doesn't seem to connect, does it?
But well, it does connect, and that's why you're seeing, you know, the play against the euro, because people actually, at the end of the day, don't believe the money is there. And I think, you know, we've had this problem for 2 years. You know, a lot of the banks have actually unwound their positions in Greece and in Italy and in Spain and other countries. Now I think the market's looking for the ECB and for Europe. You know, they've told us for the last 6-8 months, don't worry, we've got the firewalls there. You know, the IMF said, no, we've got extra funding in place for this. Well, now it's going to come to a crunch time. You know, is the firewall big enough?
Okay, so are they going to step in? Is the ECB going to backstop all of this? I mean, that's what the markets are calling for.
Well, the other problem I think we have in the short term is that it's not about the liquidity, it's about the solvency now. So, you know, there is, all the banks are saying, yes, we can provide more liquidity. You know, the Fed at this latest minutes was saying, yes, they're...
How long?
Well, they can, you know, they can print more money if they want to. In Europe, the question is, does Germany allow the ECB to print more money? In the US, yes, we know they're going to print more money. But the reality is, it's not about the liquidity, it's about the solvency. Are these banks seriously solvent or not?
When you follow the markets, Andrew, you look at the dollar index, 15 days in a row of gains, the VIX index, that is rising. Do you look at yields of the 10-year? I mean, yeah, exactly. Which one?
I think you have to look at them all. I mean,
yeah.
The trouble is...
technical levels, etc.
There's a lot of information out there, and a lot of it is, you know, like this week, it's all been about macro news. You know, you can have lovely news on stocks and them doing very, very well, but if the whole market's going down 2%, so will they.
Which one alarms you the most?
I guess the rise in the VIX is concerning, because people have been reasonably confident that Europe was going to resolve its problems.
So how are leaders, the G8 leaders, going to make sense of all of this macro news? Of course, the G8 leaders are going to be meeting in the U.S. starting today for their 2-day meeting. What's going to be front and center in terms of their agenda? Of course, I have to imagine it has to do with containing this risk contagion out of Europe.
Well, I think there's two things you have to take into concern. I mean, they were going to be talking about oil with the Iran sanctions coming on.
Yes.
The trouble with all these meetings is to actually get a statement out that they all agree on takes months of preparation from the civil servants in advance. That's just not going to happen. I think you'll see a very watered-down statement which will try and give some confidence to the markets. And I think short-term wise, I mean, it's probably people are also looking to China to come out with a statement of some further moves that it can do.
So there could be a possibility for this sell-off that you're seeing in Asia to impact the European selling day. That's going to impact the U.S. selling day on the day that Facebook is going to have their IPO, on the day that the G8 leaders are going to meet. I have to imagine that's just a huge dark cloud over the U.S. markets.
They don't say anything.
Yeah, so let's be practical about it. I mean, what do you think is going to happen in the markets then, Andrew? Is this something going to continue?
Yes, I think we see more selling today. People won't want to leave
Monday?
exposed.
That's what I mean. In the next few days?
In the next few days, until we get some statements.
But there's no reason, is there, Susan's saying, for there to be anything but selling, except for some sort of, the valuations are quite low in some stocks.
Yes, I mean, I think you will see some people starting to step in. I mean, we're at the 18,800 level. I suppose, we could go down to the 18,500 level. That's not out of the question. At those sort of levels, though, long-term institutions, the valuations look very attractive. And at the moment, they don't seem to be under a lot of pressure from redemptions. They're still getting people putting into their monthly pensions. They've still got to place that money. They have restrictions on how much cash they can hold. And that's giving some stability. Also, the fact that retail sellers don't want to sell at these prices. So there aren't that many sellers out there actually putting the prices down. That's already happened months ago.
So you're saying there's a floor to the sell-off?
There's support. I wouldn't say it was a floor. There's no absolutes in this game until we get to zero. But there's support out there. There's not undue pressure. We haven't seen the volumes increase dramatically. Yes, they're up 10-15% probably over the last couple of days, but they're not back to last year's levels of 80 billion a day here in Hong Kong.
But it's sort of like, what's everyone blindly waiting for? John went through all the bad news that have come out, that is out there right now, and you mentioned it's not yet time to push the panic button right now, but I guess what is everyone waiting for? You said...
Well, you'd like resolution out of Europe. You'd like a decision on Greece. Now, I guess with the contagion
like
spreading...
A magic wand.
Yeah.
We'd love a magic wand, yes.
But none of those things are going to happen anytime soon.
The thing with Greece is the fact that it's a binary decision. They're either going to stay in the EU, and in which case, the EU countries have to find the funding and how they're going to help Greece do that, or they're going to leave the EU, in which case, again, we've got to work out how you
Not according to Lexi Tsipras, right? He wants a little bit of both.
Yes, that's not going to happen, I don't think. There is no way you can run a dual currency within that.
Oh, Andrew, let's talk about Facebook since we have a minute left. How about that? Because we are running out of time, but what do you think of FB? 16 billion raise in these markets?
Well, we're part of the code on that in the US, so we're obviously great supporters of it.
Really?
That's what was it.
A lot of guys saying pump and dump.
You're towing the line, aren't you?
Absolutely.
How much hype in this?
I mean, it's tech.
We had a guest before saying 70% hype, 30% reality.
Well, I mean, it's it's there in the market. They managed to price it at the high end.
You can't say anything but like it, can you?
No.
Okay. Did you get any discounts, by the way?
No.
No?
Still smile.
I don't use it either.
All right, Andrew. He's keeping his lips pretty tight.
Privacy, which talks about Facebook, is very close to your heart.
34 underwriters.
All right, Andrew.
Absolutely.
Thanks for dropping by today, especially in this weather. And have a great weekend. Andrew Sullivan there of Piper Jaffray.